This podcast is brought to you by Wise, the app for international people using money around the globe. With Wise, you can send, spend, and receive up to 40 currencies and save up to 55% compared to major banks. Plus, Wise won't add hidden fees to your transfer. Whether you're buying souvenirs with pesos in Puerto Vallarta or spending euros to tip your Colosseum tour guide, you know you're getting a fair exchange rate with no extra markups. Join the 15 million customers who choose Wise. Download the Wise app today or visit wise.com/US/compare to learn more. Terms and conditions apply. Today on CityCast DC. October in DC is just lovely. The weather is good, the leaves are turning, and even though, yes, the city is still reeling from the federal takeover, we're still finding joy and ways to connect with the city that we all call home. So from fast cars to throwing back a few drinks with a former U.S. president, I'm joined by my CityCast co-host Michael Schaefer and senior producer Julia Karen to give you our top picks for what to do in DC this October. It's Wednesday, October 1st. I'm Bridget Todd, and here's what DC is talking about. Mike, Julia, before we get to our conversation, you all know this, but we are in the final days of our membership campaign, and I've actually been really impressed by how folks have been really showing out for us here in DC.
A bunch of people have come up to me and said they became members, like in my neighborhood.
Oh my God, have they really?
And, yeah, I haven't looked. They might have been, they might have been stringing me along just to be nice, but I like to think not.
Well, I mean, Mr. Rogers said, look for the neighbors, right? So there is that. And I guess they're looking for you, Mike, which is kind of heartening.
Do you consider yourself to be a good neighbor?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's like we have a pretty nice culture in our back alley. Like when my kids were little, we used to, and by we I mean my wife organized this, have like a Halloween party for all the kids, and then somehow over the pandemic, that became the back alley. Everyone lives on the back alley. Started doing it in the alley because we couldn't go inside. And now my kids have kind of aged out of that, but like the alley Halloween festival continues, and it's just like it's a nice thing.
Wait, I love that so much.
And I think being the person in the neighborhood that is a good neighbor, it brings so much value and so much community. And if folks are looking for other ways that they can contribute and be good neighbors here in DC, consider becoming a CityCast DC neighbor for only $10 a month or $100 a year. You can go to membership.citycast.fm to do that. It really does help support the work that we're doing here, that we try to tell folks how to be more connected to the city that we love, what they can do to be the Mike of their neighborhood and be a good neighbor who creates community.
I don't want to take on airs here because, like I said, it was my wife who like put a lot more sweat into it than me. But I think anyone who listens to CityCast is an appreciator of community. And, I think at this moment, one of the weird things of DC, for all the terror that a lot of people feel about like what's going to happen to our economy, what's going to happen to our workplace, what's going to happen to our country, I think one of the things that has spurred is a greater desire for like human connection. Maybe because they don't want to read the news. They just want to talk to their neighbors about life. But I think that's sort of where this moment is in DC, and it makes it nice to be doing CityCast because we can talk to them about important stuff, but also just about how to live their best lives in DC.
Become a member today at membership.citycast.fm.
Yeah, again, $10 a month, $100 for the whole year. Also, you get this sick Neighbors Make DC tote, so you can get bragging rights all over your friends with a sick tote. Have you seen the totes?
Oh, they're adorable.
I'm told one is coming my way.
Let's go.
It's a good month for totes, which I think was what we're going to talk about in this episode because it's October. You can tote apples. You can tote candy for Halloween. You can tote all kinds of stuff.
Now truly is the time to get this tote. Seriously. And also become a neighbor. Support us. Again, that's membership.citycast.fm.
And Mike, Julia, that is such a good segue into talking about what is on deck for October. It is one of my favorite months in DC, and we really want to have these conversations each month so that people know all the different things they can do. They don't have to get FOMO. They don't have to see the picture on Instagram that all their friends went apple picking with their super cool CityCast DC tote. You can be included.
Truly, yeah. As soon as we knew October was right around the corner in my book club, we were like, apple picking, October 4th, Butler's Orchard. And Is it going to be 80 degrees? Probably, but maybe we can summon the good October weather if we wear high enough boots and wear flannel and pick enough apples and put them in the Neighbors Make DC totes.
Oh, I have an alternative opinion.
Uh-oh.
I find apple picking to be the most overrated fall activity.
Bridget.
I don't want to do it. I'm not interested in it.
I gotta say, I feel exactly as you do, and whenever we're going out there, we did like when the kids were little and stuff. I think like what a scam this is. They have tricked us into picking their apples for them, so they don't have to hire people to do it, and then
Yes.
we pay them for the privilege of doing that. But here's the place where that criticism always falls down. The apples are pretty good.
I'll allow that. I'm not a huge apple person. Only recently did I learn that there were more than 2 different types of apples, red and green. I've now learned there's an entire array of apples that I was not aware of. So I might just not be in the apple enjoying demographic. When I was a little kid, I remember going to school in the fall and learning about pumpkin patches, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And I came home from school and I said, Mom, we got to go to the pumpkin patch and get a pumpkin. My mom was like very overworked and was like, pumpkin patch? Ugh, fine. We get in the car. I'm bursting with excitement thinking we're going to be going to some rolling hills. There's going to be pumpkins growing. I don't know what I thought. Tell me why my mom drove us to Safeway. It was like, it's just pumpkins. Just pick out a pumpkin. We're not going to a pumpkin patch.
Mama Todd knew that if you went to a real pumpkin patch, there was going to be no pumpkins. They were all going to be gone. They were all going to be at the Safeway. She did this for you, Bridget.
Yes.
I think you were a little more focused on the pumpkin than the patch, though.
Yes. Yeah.
Patch is like not it's not like a pumpkin vineyard, a pumpkin dale.
A pumpkin vineyard.
Patch is like patch is a word that doesn't suggest like a beautiful expanse of land.
Correct.
Yes.
That is very correct.
I mean, when you have either of you been to a pumpkin patch?
Yes.
And I don't intend to.
I've been to a pumpkin patch. They're like fine. If you're like me and you occasionally like the apple picking and stuff, like for the fun of it, going to a pumpkin patch is not going to kill you. It's also not going to be like the best thing you've ever done. But part of the reason that we do these monthly guides is to recommend, right, like stuff that you might actually want to do. You're not obligated to go apple picking. You're not obligated to go to a pumpkin patch. But I think we've got some ideas a little further away than those. Very different from those.
So wait, where do you go? Just so people know, what is the Julia Cannon approved apple picking destination?
Butler's Orchard. I mean, I grew up on Butler's Orchard. So Butler's Orchard is in Germantown. It is definitely a bit of a hike. I don't know. It's the one I've been going to since I was a little kid. It's really pretty. They have the hay rides. They have the like animal zoo, like petting zoo stuff. If you want to have your kids like feed horses and like sheep and do all that fun stuff, like it is a cool experience, especially if you're a parent to like see your kids like light up when they see like farm animals for sure. Obviously, I've grown up and like I've moved away from that, but again, it's the thing I grew up going to.
You don't have to pretend for us. It's all cool. You can be a grown-up and still like feeding sheep.
I think the sheep might get fed to my dog Sandy if I take her to Butler's Orchard. We're going to see how that goes. But yeah, she would be a fan. But yeah, like it's the place I grew up going to. It's the place I'm most familiar with. So like, I don't know, if listeners have recommendations of other places that aren't in literal Germantown, please tell me.
I don't know that you can probably afford to have an apple orchard any closer.
Probably.
Wait, Bridget, if you're not going to be apple picking, what are you going to be doing in October?
I will not be apple picking. I can promise you that. But something that I am looking forward to doing this month in DC is something called Race the District, which is go-karts. It is so weird to be an adult who drives, imagining taking an Uber or getting in my car and driving to go experience go-karts. But it does sound kind of fun to me. On October 9th through the 12th, they are transforming Union Market's parking lot into a high-energy outdoor racetrack, including a musical performance from an electronic music duo called Louis the Child. So it kind of sounds like a lot. I think they're going for like an F1 kind of vibe.
Yeah. I don't know how many people watched Drive to Survive over the pandemic, but I imagine that is what inspired this. God, it's been so long since I've been go-karting, but I'm ready.
Wait, and this is for adults?
It's for kids and adults. I actually went through the FAQ because I'm thinking, am I too tall and too big to do this?
I mean, Bridget, the answer is yes. You are too tall and too adult to be doing this. Come on, man.
Maybe by your requirements, but, according to this, as long as you are 58, The height minimum is 58 inches, the height maximum is 79 inches, and the weight maximum is 300 pounds. So that's a pretty big range. It is a kid-friendly and adult-friendly event.
I had a theory that DC's like, it's like the land of adult children. Like,
Yes,
so
we had a whole
many-
episode on
about
this.
this.
Yes.
Right. Well, just another piece of evidence, therefore.
Well, Julie is going to be feeding sheep. I'm going to be doing go-karts. What are you going to be doing this October, Mike?
God, you guys make me feel so old.
I'll be at the Smithsonian.
That is because you are doing juvenile activities.
Doing your taxes, reading The Economist, eating a grapefruit for breakfast.
I've got a like 700-page economic history book to dig into. No, I'm gonna. Well, let me just say, because we do want to display some awareness here, it being October 1st, that there is a possibility that a number of the museum-based events in Washington will not be available to us if indeed the government has shut down or stays shut down. It's not. There's obviously lots of stuff up in the air about exactly what would get closed in this event, but it would. If past is prologue and they close the National Gallery, that means I won't be able to go to the opening of this show of, bear with me here, of Indigenous Australian artists that is incredibly cool looking. It opens October 18th. I lack the vocabulary to describe the images of it that I've seen, but it's just incredibly colorful, weird art, the kind of stuff that has not historically been part of the National Gallery's ambit, right? That was always a very, it began with a collection of Impressionist paintings and has always been very Eurocentric. So it's I don't know, just cool and weird and unusual. But if it is closed, I would recommend for people, you can just drive up to Upper Northwest, because in Upper Northwest, there are two different shows. One opened already in September at the American University Museum on Massachusetts Avenue, and the other opens this month at the Krieger Museum on Vauxhall Road. And they are both shows of women artists from the DMV. The Krieger Museum is just 4 people. The AU show is a massive cast of thousands. The AU Museum is like weirdly good. It's a really nice little space. So, if there is a interruption in services from Uncle Sam, it's maybe a chance to explore some of DC's smaller, weirder museums.
I appreciate that you brought a backup in case of government shutdown.
This is the world we're in, right? All these things that in Washington seemed eternal are maybe not so eternal. So it's good to have other plans, you know what I mean? Don't miss Folger Theater's Julius X, playing September 23rd through October 26th at the Folger Shakespeare Library. This bold new play by Peabody Award-winning journalist Al Letson remixes Shakespeare's Julius Caesar with the history of Malcolm X, sampling lyrically and historically from Shakespeare's text, famous speeches by civil rights leaders, and Letson's own verse. Directed by DC-based theater artist Nicole Brewer and starring renowned Shakespearean actor Brandon Carter, Julius X explores the historical weight of Malcolm X's last days and the cyclical nature of ambition, power, and revolution. Tickets start at $20 and can be purchased online at folger.edu or by calling the box office at 202-544-7077, Tuesday through Sunday, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Get yours today. When the Library of Congress says it's a library for you, they really mean it. The library hosts year-round free events to share its collections with the public, both in person and online. Visit loc.gov/events to elevate your happy hour every Thursday with eclectic entertainment and cocktails during Live at the Library. Bring kids for hands-on activities at family days. Find daytime workshops for lifelong learners in Afternoons with the Library. Enjoy world-class live music in their Concerts from the Library of Congress series and more. Whatever your age or interest, there's a program to connect you to the Library of Congress collections. Plan your next visit at loc.gov/events. That's loc.gov/events.
Yeah, the vibes in DC, I still am feeling the weirdness from all the Trump takeover stuff. But one thing that has really been making me feel less weird and more connected to the city, even during these weird times, has been the way that listeners and the city has been really showing up for us through this membership drive.
Yeah, no, it's been wild. I know one thing that we've joked about a lot here on this show is like living here on purpose. Like, I am a native, Mike is a native, Bridget, you've kind of come and gone, but like realistically, like living here on purpose is fun, despite the fact that the government is being crazy as we speak.
I completely agree. And I think making the show has really reminded me of that, of why I live here, the people who I find here. Where else would I go? Why should I be chased out of this city that I've been in and I love so much? And it's been nice to have moments to reconnect with that. And yeah, I think if folks like the podcast and like the newsletter and they feel like it gives them a way to be also connected to the city, I would love if you could demonstrate that by becoming a CityCast neighbor. How can folks do that?
Well, they can pay $10 a month or $100 for a year, saving themselves some money by going to membership.citycast.fm. This show is a lot of work for a bunch of people, and it doesn't happen by accident. And I just, so you know, if you sign up as a member, you are helping all these folks, some of whom you hear in your ears right now, and some of whom you don't, do their work. And it's a funny kind of work at this time, because CityCast aims to be like a general interest thing that connects you in all these different ways to your city, both in the big news that's happening, but also in sort of how to live your life. And at moments of like drama and danger in the news, it can feel a little bit weird for us to be like, all right, today we're going to talk about the best pizzas. But I think, I think most people would agree, if you step back, like the whole package is our lives here. The important and urgent and dangerous, as well as the stuff you do as you live your life.
Yeah. And again, part of the reason we do these guides is to do the fun and quirky stuff. And we're going to get back to that in a second, obviously. But again, being a neighbor here, we've heard from so many people just saying how thankful they have been for the work that we do. How can they get more involved and things like that? So yeah, go to membership.citycast.fm.
And speaking of some of those quirky things that you're looking forward to doing in the city, Julia, what are you looking forward to eating and or drinking or otherwise imbibing in October?
Okay, so this is happening on my brother's actual birthday, October 11th. Yes, that's the same as the twins from The Parent Trap. It's a huge deal in my family, and I'm so excited. Have you guys heard of Snallygaster Festival?
I've been.
You've been. Okay, so for folks who are unaware, Snallygaster is a craft beer festival. It's on the mall, and there's, like 100 different kinds of beer you can try. It is run by the folks who run Blue Jacket Brewery and Church Key and The Sovereign and Shelter. And so for anyone who is interested in figuring out what kind of beer they like, I know my mom is someone who doesn't really like beer that tastes like beer. She's more of a light beer, Corona kind of gal. This is the time to go and just taste a bunch of stuff. Figure out what you like, why you like it. There's different levels of passes. There was a VIP Basilisk Pass that was $150. That's sold out. But the Kraken Pass, which is just general admission,
what do you get for your $150?
So for $150, you get early entry from noon until 6. There's unlimited beer, wine, cocktail tastings. There's a commemorative tasting glass and then access to VIP amenities, so probably like food and stuff like that. The normal pass for us plebes, which is $75, allows us in from 2 to 6. There's still unlimited beer, wine, cocktail tastings, and that same commemorative tasting glass. To basically have almost a whole case of beer with your friends and hang out for $75 and have snackies, like, I think that's unbeatable. And it's also just fun. Like, you're on the mall in the shadow of the Capitol, hawking a beer. Come on. As the founders intended. As the founders were probably doing, by the way.
And now you're safe because the National Guard is there too.
Factually correct. Factually correct.
It used to be deadly going to craft brew festivals on the mall.
Truly was dangerous nearly a decade ago going to Snallygaster. Yeah, the Snallygaster Beer Festival is like 13 years old. So really excited to do that. All right, Bridget, what's one thing you're interested in eating, drinking this month?
Well, you were talking about the founding fathers. On October 10th, I'm going to be in George Washington's Mount Vernon in Northern Virginia for the Fall Wine Festival. Guess who is going to be there? You'll never guess.
Hell yeah.
George Washington himself. I suspect it might not actually be the George Washington, but...
So there's going to be a George Washington lookalike drinking wine.
Is it going to be the Nationals George Washington mascot?
Well, according to this website, you can snap a photo with George Washington himself and take the opportunity to ask him historical questions about his life. I don't think the mascot can speak in that big head thing. So I don't know. Maybe they got the real Washington. I'll be excited to see.
Are you like cooking up trick questions in advance?
No, I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna come up with a series of questions to rat out this imposter Washington. He's not the real George Washington. Yeah, so I'm excited for this event. It sounds like a kind of a bring a blanket, sit on some pretty land and sample Virginia wines. For the general public, it's $61.
So it's $14 cheaper than the beer.
Ruh-roh.
And you get a former president, possibly.
I might get beat out here, guys. The beer might lose to wine.
Maybe they should have a president at your thing too.
Which one would they pick for beer, though?
There were presidents who were home brewers. Barack Obama was a home brewer. Remember that?
Wait,
that was
he
like a
was?
big
Was he
thing.
really?
Yeah,
Which
you guys
home?
don't remember
Barack,
this?
come to Snallygaster. Let's go.
Huh. All right.
Yeah, he brewed beer in the White House. I'm a bit older than you, Julia, so I feel like I lived through peak craft beer, and at the time I was dating like a beer guy, you know the type. And
Yes,
I
snobby.
remember there was a lot of. It was also the time where all the beers that were super hoppy, they would have names like punch you in the face with hops. Like they were really going overboard with how much they wanted you to understand this was a hoppy beer. It was a time to be alive.
Yeah, I bet. No, it's funny. I'm a beer and a wine snob, so I don't know how that weekend is going to look. I'm going to be going from your Mount Vernon Wine Fest to Snallygaster Beer Fest. Mike, I need you to save me.
I'm planning to be stone cold sober in case I get a call from either of you guys. So this is back to events, but Dave Chappelle is playing at the Capital One Arena. It's the first time he's been on tour in like 6 or 7 years. He is as folks know or should know, he's DC native. Used to do a lot of DC material. The political valence of David Chappelle has changed pretty dramatically. He's, been a controversial figure for doing a lot of like kind of gross trans jokes. He's also been like out early on Palestinian stuff. Neither of these are like a DC local issue. And most recently, like perhaps the most recent show he's done, was among the comedians who went to go play a festival in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia.
Oh my God.
Right.
Have you all ever seen that video of Dave Chappelle getting roasted by 8th graders from, I think they're at Duke Ellington School, and they've brought him in to have a conversation about, I don't know, comedy or free speech or whatever it was he was talking about. And he is being so mercilessly roasted and eaten up by these youth who look like they're in 8th grade. I would never want to find myself in front of an audience of, I don't know, hostile, sassy 8th graders and then being filmed. No, nightmare.
I think Duke Ellington starts in 9th grade, so at least they were high school
a little
age.
younger.
Even worse.
Even worse. But I can tell you, as someone who coaches like U12 girls hockey, there is nothing more fearsome than being roasted by 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, 10-year-olds. It's wild.
They'll either say the meanest, most specific insult you've ever heard in your life that cuts to the core of your deepest insecurity somehow, or they will roast you for something completely commonplace that you're doing and you don't even understand. One time my cousin was like, look at Bridget wearing those glasses. And I was wearing glasses. And I thought, this is a totally reasonable thing that I'm doing. I'm not doing anything weird. Why are you giving me an insecurity about the fact that I'm wearing glasses?
Sorry that my eyeballs are screwed up. My God.
Well, I don't know. I feel like in this moment we're in, post Jimmy Kimmel, Colbert, any kind of roasting of people with more power, including celebrities, comedians, in fact, seems like a kind of revolutionary act that we ought to be witnessing.
Yeah, I'm on board with that. I am on board with that.
Hey, Bridget Todd here, co-host of CityCast DC. At CityCast DC, our mission is simple. We strive to make our listeners more engaged neighbors because we believe that better neighbors make better cities. Every day, we bring you the local stories, conversations, and tips that help you feel more connected to DC and the people and places that make it feel like home. And when you become a CityCast DC neighbor, you're investing in that mission. Your support allows us to keep covering those local issues that matter most to our communities and highlight the stories that make this city shine. Plus, CityCast DC neighbors get great benefits like ad-free podcast episodes, a weekly email rounding up a full week's worth of curated local events, invitations to members-only events, and more. Sign up today for $10 a month or $100 a year at membership.citycast.fm. Join the neighborhood. That's membership.citycast.fm. And thank you. Mike, what about you? What are your tips to navigating DC this month?
So as we're going to talk about coming up episode in CityCast, DC public school, high school football has been rocked by, there was a huge fight in the stands, and they've like moved games to, not nighttime, and we've done all these things to kind of chill out the crowd. But it is a reminder that there's a lot of people, even here in our nation's capital, who do this very American normal thing of like getting really into high school football. And, particularly in the suburbs, there are some very elaborate Friday Night Lights style programs. And even if you are not involved with anyone in these schools, or maybe especially, it's kind of a fun thing to do. And you can just look at the local high school sports rankings and like pick one of the good teams and go. And it's just kind of a fun and cheap way to spend a Friday night.
Fun fact, I used to help organize those rankings, and it was so much work, and you would get the meanest and nicest emails from people being like, why is my school ranked so low? Or like, oh my God, thank you for ranking our school and talking to our kids. It was, nothing is weirder than high school sports, and especially high school football. So definitely appreciate that.
Well, do you have a tip for folks, especially folks who maybe haven't been living in the city for very long? I love Halloween. I love October. And one thing that people always ask is, even if you live in an apartment, do people do trick or treat? The answer is yes. I do trick or treat just from my little stoop in the middle of Columbia Heights, even though I don't have a house. When I first came back to DC, I remember thinking, I don't know if people are going to still be doing Halloween. You can just get a bowl of candy and sit on your stoop. That's totally allowed. Kids will take it. Kids will take that candy.
100%. And I actually think, I'm so glad you do that, because one of the things of the sort of age of Instagram is, there are some places, some people, individuals, and some neighborhoods that really go all out for Halloween with decorations and stuff. And you can now photograph them, share them. And so there's this feeling of like, I've got to go to a different neighborhood for like the best possible Halloween neighborhood. And I just completely disagree with that notion. I think you should stay in your own neighborhood, because it is a rare moment when your human neighbors come up to you and say hello, and you interact while giving their children candy. And that's a really nice thing. Even if your neighborhood is not one where people are dropping a lot of money and a lot of energy on themed decorations.
Dang, Mike's a purist.
I completely agree. There's a guy who I saw him, it must have been 5 years ago, doing trick or treat on my stoop. And he was holding a baby. So it was a baby that was young enough to be held in arms, dressed like a chicken. I have seen that child grow up now. He walks on his own now. And it's just funny that had I not been giving out candy that Halloween, I would not have known, like, oh, there's that kid who was dressed like a chicken 5 years ago.
What is he dressed like now? Turkey?
Ooh, who knows? Yeah. Good one.
Evolves from chicken to turkey to ostrich to emu. Like, where are we going with this?
Bird just gets bigger and bigger.
Just gets bigger and bigger.
Turducken.
What about you, Julia? What do you got?
Okay, so I think folks might remember back in our April guide, maybe our May guide, my tip was to take that down comforter, the one that you never take out of your duvet, take it to the dry cleaner and then store it. Hilariously, if that musty comforter is still under your bed and you did not follow those directions, let me tell you, you're going to be suffering when it starts to get cold in November if you're like me and you're freezing all the time. Take your comforter, take it to the dry cleaners, let them clean it. You would be astonished what kind of gunk is in there. This is to prep yourself for November when it gets chilly and you want to be swaddled and held. I'm telling you, it's the way to do it. It's your last chance.
It's your last chance, or else you just have to be swaddled in like a musty comforter.
Which is gross.
That sounded very final and ominous.
It
you
was
probably,
final
you
and
probably
ominous.
won't die.
Well, it'll be sheets for you all winter.
Yeah, it's mostly ominous because like there's just so much crap in that. Like you don't realize it until they dry clean it how weird and gross your stuff is. Like, and I'm someone I'm not a neat freak, but this is something that I am very passionate about, as you can tell. Please take your comforter to the dry cleaners. You owe it to yourself.
Well, you heard it here first.
Wow.
You do yourself a favor and deep clean. You owe it to yourself.
Bridget, is your stuff gross? My stuff's not gross.
I have a very specific bedding situation that is organized around being able to clean it easily at home.
Better than me. Dang, I'm very particular. So maybe it's just a me thing. I could be wrong.
Wait, so before we bounce, today we've got a shout out from one of our newest CityCast DC neighbors, Marissa H. Here's what Marissa says. Amma and their whole team in Navy Yard are wonderful. They create nourishing Italian dishes and don't sleep on the old Tyrolean cocktail.
Ooh, that sounds lovely.
Marissa H. gets to, as all new CityCast neighbors do, shout out a local business or person or organization that they think is worthy of praise and attention. So thank you for doing that, Marissa.
And if you want to share your shout out from a place, a business, a nonprofit in DC that you love, just become a CityCast DC neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. We get notified of every new neighbor. We get a little ping, and it is such a great feeling. I live for that feeling.
The dopamine hit is so instantaneous and so strong and so nice. Oh, it's the best. I love it.
And especially when people write in and say why they joined. I mean, those messages really make my day, and they're why we do what we do. Leslie H. said, I love the dedication to providing local news, entertainment, and information. It is so valuable for us as citizens and as residents to stay informed. It is the only way to take care of ourselves and our community. I agree. Thank you so much, Leslie.
And listen, it's the final days of the campaign, so this is the time. We want to get as many people. It helps us if as many people as possible sign up during the campaign. It also helps you because you get a tote bag.
Yes, the Neighbors Make DC tote bag for all the carrying of the candy of that little kid who used to be a chicken and is now a turkey. You know he's going to be carting around that candy in that tote bag.
Oh, he's not old enough to become a member because he doesn't have a job or money. But I'm gonna get a tote bag just special just for him for Halloween.
Yes.
Chicken Kid, if you're listening, we love you.
All right, so please join now. Membership.citycast.fm, $10 a month, $100 for a year. We so appreciate anyone who does. And I so appreciate you guys, Bridget and Julia. Thank you for doing this with me.
Thank you, Mike.
Always a pleasure. Well, that is all for today here on CityCast DC. And if you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our morning newsletter. We will be back tomorrow morning with even more news from around the city. We will talk to you then.